Nation Media Group, we have spent now close to 1.5 years after we were banned from covering the president. And probably if I were there, I would have assessed the situation better. But trust you me, the news that comes out, even from the people that have gone to cover, is more of these speeches crisscrossing one another. You know, the hate speeches, the kind of, the jabs that are being thrown at each other. And it doesn't look good on them, in my view, on a party that has been in power for 40 years. A party that has been in power for 40 years ought to nurture leaders. Leaders who are going to stand above the form. You know, leaders who are going to be more ideological to the Ugandan perspective with every context that we carry.
But Mr. Wandera, if these are the persons,
thank you,
Mr. Oscar Sewa is forcefully taking his seat. And, I think I must hand over leadership.
Yes,
I'm Professor Ole, who has ruled for 68 years.
Did you make 68? 68? 42.
11
was a new beginning.
By short-lived of power.
I was going to let you finish this strand, but I had to come in because you are having an exchange with Derek Wandera. Good morning, listeners. I am Oscar Semoyamsoke. Late this morning, I spent a lot of time on the road. And if Abdul Katuntu is also coming, he's also spending more time on the road. Since the bypass had issues, we are back into suffering days. I'm impressed Philip came really, really early. But thank you very much, Edgar Tabaro, for the introductions, quite engaging. Philip says he came early for Star Cafe Samosa. So just very, very quickly, 2 minutes everyone on Chankwanz, and then we go to perhaps substantial topics for the day. Let's
Chankwanz is not substantial.
I said perhaps substantial. But Chankwanz will be very big when we get the report at the end of sojourn. Honorable Goreth Namugawe, would you have wished to be in Chankwanzi? I'm told people not in NRM were invited, and maybe that's why we see Honorable Mao there.
I may not be able to say for which purpose, but I think NRM has given us a joke of the year, 2026. For if you look at all the challenges that we have as a country as of recent, having just concluded the 2026 violent elections, our colleagues, even their own leader, said, you are here just to dance paka chini.
That the leadership management steps aside every so often. I think in Luganda it's called Lucidika. Rigid, yes, steps aside every so often to go and think through ideas for the leadership of the entity that they are doing. So if it is happening in government, I'm happy with it. As to how it is executed and what is discussed and who is fighting who, maybe that's also good. Maybe that's also good, because out of contestation, we get better ideas.
So if you'd been invited, would you have made it?
Yes, I think so, because I really think, and I'm speaking now as a professional, I really think that we need to speak up and put ideas in these places. Okay, I don't know if let me say, some of the ideas we have are not being heard there. Okay, and maybe some of the no's that should be said are not being said there. So yes, I would welcome the opportunity to be in such a place and to make certain views known.
Yeah, you put it so well. I mean, even in my workplace, we do have retreats. We go away and discuss and plan for the next season. I hope you've enjoyed some samosa, chapati, and coffee. This is a place you don't have to carry your samosa in the
pocket. You missed my victory dance. I said I have now made it in life. I'm on the capital gang.
And was looking forward to Star
Cafe. The samosas are here.
I listened to you.
My classmate, Honorable Abdul Katuntu, is here. I can't believe it.
And I don't know, did you feel like you did a good job teaching Edgar Tabaro when you were saying that?
Absolutely, without reservation.
You see,
I'll go with just your opinion.
Musomesa yourself. I've taught myself the best way to evaluate a teacher is through their students. I also must add that Mr. Honorable Katutu taught me at LDC as well. So you're in good company.
By midday, we'll work out whether this was a good project. So, Edgar, now that you're not moderating, you're 2 minutes on Chankwanzi. If you'd been invited, would you go? And so far, what's your take?
From what do you mean, of course? I know.
And the reason I've framed this question in such a way is we are told by one of the guests that he was invited by the chairman of a party, so chairman of a party can extend invitations.
Politically, I have an inclination to the NRM as a political party, resulting from our background as a family. Joe, you know it very well.
Unfortunately.
No, with the gang of UNLF.
And you're seated in Ofonopondo's chair.
I hope I ably represent the ideas, but I happen to be a free-thinking liberal, and sometimes I sit uneasily with some of the faces at Chankwanzi. But that's what it is, and that's who I am. Beyond the rhetoric that you're seeing coming out of Chankwanzi, there are many things that happen behind the scenes. It's a platform, it's a forum for lobbying, and what has not come to the attention of the public, I can see you've mentioned, hinted on it. There are many persons from the private sector who angle for making presentations so as to catch the eye of the
leaders
of the leader.
The leader.
The leader.
Not plural.
No. The others are sideshow. The others are sideshows. The elbowing and what have you is background noise that I would beg to add. A lot of lobbying does happen at Chankwanzi, and many of the things that eventually pan out as policy are decided at Chankwanzi. So many of these other roadside declarations that we tend to hear from time to time, or you see ministers posturing, the real action is at Chankwanzi. And if you read between the lines and go to the detail, the president's speech is the one that actually even determines the budget in this country. Yes, very much the budget in this country. So many times when we see persons congregating at Chankwanzi, of course, you know, our usual approach of Ugandans, we are cynical. We are sometimes persons in our space, the so-called elite, so-called intelligentsia, are so very withdrawn from those processes, and we scorn at them, we scoff at them, and we think by staying away from Chankwanzi, by staying away from where the real action is, we think we can influence things in this country. That's where the real action, that's where the real planning, that's where the real angling, and that's the place to get noticed. Exactly, and especially noticed for either executive appointments in cabinet, or sometimes for the statutory, statutory, and what are they called? Statutory and what? State commissions. Commissions. They go for that angling, and they make sure the accommodation that is booked is close to this and that. You know, there are things that don't come to the fore, but that's what happens. Besides the other frivolous things that we get in
someone not wanting to share a room.
Besides those trivial things.
Honorable Katuntu, would you have gone? Had you been invited?
Yes, I would have gone, but you know, being invited as what? As a participant or a resourceful part?
No, to be participated.
So it depends. But that said, anybody really serious would want to agree with me that there's nothing wrong with the retreat. Where people come and reflect, because you see, this is just a new legislative group that has been elected from all sorts of backgrounds, professions and so on. They don't know each other, and they must work together for the next 5 years. legislating, planning, policy for this country. So you need to start somewhere. So you need to come and start knowing each other, because many of them, Oscar, when they are looking for the votes, it's about themselves, not even about their parties. Oh, I'll put a bridge here even when there is no water. Oh, I'll do this, I'll bury, and so on. That sort of group should now be introduced to the national agenda of a political party. We in FDC used to do that. So, okay, we are now the official position. What is going to be our agenda? What are the challenges we are going to face? Then you get people who are experienced, you get people who are well educated come and say, by the way, people, historians say, look at this is the sort of challenge you do have. And in my honest assessment, judgment, I think we did quite well as an official position, because we addressed ourselves to the issues, partly because we had got time, retreated and addressed ourselves to those issues. What we have today, apparently, there are challenges, there's no doubt about that. Sometimes what is discussed and so on. But, Oscar, the biggest problem are people like Derek and you in the media. I repeat.
Derek is okay, but me?
In the media. Because what is coming out of Chankwazi is purely social media sort of news. Some sensation, some humor, and so on.
So there's nothing.
Oh, that's where the problem is. I have tried to be talking to a few people there and so on. Say, you tell us what is going on. There are papers which have been delivered. No media house has put up that this a paper delivered, this one who has delivered, these are the issues. Instead, it's about Mao and the Right Honorable Speaker.
And that's not from media houses either.
But
That's not from media houses.
What I talk
Indeed.
about, look at the story of Derek's paper, the first story which came out 2 days ago. It is even the very story now. And it's front page story. So to me, I think we as a country, we
Just
have,
for information,
Yes.
Patricia, the producer, is saying the retreat is closed to the media. Media was not invited.
Indeed. And then the other thing, just before you respond, it would then be the responsibility, particularly because the governing political party, to manage information to community, to release and present this to the rest
On
of the
a daily
citizen.
basis.
Yes.
That's another issue. Because, some years back, we had the media. I can tell you, and I was one of the admirers of this media. Even when there is a closed meeting, they would find a way of penetrating it, and they would bring out exactly what is going out of the media. So to me, we ought as a public to penetrate this so closed meeting and bring out exactly what they are saying. But because the politics of the day is this sort of stories, so that's what we are now engaged in, and you get the public debating about this and so on, and you leave out the real issues that could be there. I'm telling you, some of the journalists who made their big names, I can't imagine a journalist like Charles Onyango Bow, for example, that he would be so much when he was as the editor at the Monitor newspaper, that he would be having these sort of stories. By now, we would have broken into that closed place, and stories would be coming out. Then he would juxtapose what these things social media is bringing out and what exactly is taking place. I'll give you another example. The National Unity Platform had a retreat, I think soon after their election in Ibusabala. I don't know whether it was a retreat, but a couple of days. The real issues that came out of that, I don't see them coming out and us debating them. And to me, Oscar, we need to interrogate what our parties are doing. They are going to be determining the future of this country, real issues. If they discuss anything serious which impacts our life, let us have a way of discussing them and assessing it. If we go to the trivialities, then we have a problem also as press, as the public, and even the elite. Having said that, I'm happy to see Philip. Philip Oscar is my classmate, but there's something which he may be shy to talk about. But I'm proud to talk about it. Philip was the best in my class.
First class.
First class. There were two, Philip and Apollo Makoy and so on. But the record,
Oxford.
the record. Oh yeah, from there the sky was the limit. But the record,
Cambridge.
Cambridge.
It's a
yeah.
big issue.
Yeah, it is. Well, especially
No.
between Cambridge and Oxford, my friends, a very big issue. Which
There will be war.
So Philip, and they were breaking real records because it was Kidu
1974.
Makoboya as the first person in law school to get a first class professor. Then the next was Dele Tingovi.
Yes.
Both of them actually deceased. Both Professor Kidu Makoboya and Ngovi passed on. And now the next was our class, and it was Philip and Apollo. Philip, you are most
Professor Badia,
welcome.
thank you.
Narule. Thank you.
So
Honorable.
if I perform less on the show,
It's because
just know the problem.
I'm seated next to Philip.
so your first class by
Edgar, just to let you know, as he said, Oxford, Cambridge is like Manchester, Arsenal.
Yeah, sure.
But also, going by Abdul's definitions, Derek, going by Abdul's definitions, the rivalry mostly centers on a boating culture. Okay, so who wins the boat race per year? Is it going to be Cambridge or Oxford? So sometimes they are not the big issues that separate.
I know you love that bottling thing, but this time it won't work.
Boat, B-O-A-T.
Oscar, there is a rivalry between MIT and Harvard.
Yes.
For a long time, MIT didn't have an MBA, so they started an MBA program that they can't produce the best technology experts in the world to be managed by Harvard graduates. So they started an executive MBA program, ironically started by Harvard
Obviously,
graduates.
let's say the Honorable Namuga here, as you come in, Oscar. First of all, I'll need to congratulate her. I think she's been a newcomer, but one of the best MPs, young people. And you see, that's why we need to give young people and newcomers a chance. Give them a benefit of doubt. When Namuga just come to Parliament, nobody would know that she would end up what she is today. And to the people of Zimbabwe, losing a Namuga, it is a real loss. To me, these are the people as we were exiting, or as we exit, we thought they would take on the mantle of legislation in our country. I'm very, very sorry, Honorable Namuga, but I'm one of your admirers.
May I add, Oscar?
Yes, please.
Since it's her moment in the sun, I would also like to commend her for her minority report during the enactment of the Nsereko bill. She made a minority report. She was almost shut down in the House not to present it. I don't know who stood up for you. She presented it, and it featured prominently in the judgment of the Supreme
Court of
The Constitutional
Constitutional Court.
Mulyagonja
Yes, in
judgment.
Mulyagonja's judgment in nullifying that act. So thank you for your courage.
Wow.
Oh, she's a very courageous girl.
That one
Can I
she
call you a
is.
girl? She's a very courageous girl.
Salute, Honorable.
Namuga is equal to Edgar. They may not be same in size, but in terms of noise.
Does size matter?
But anyway, Namuga, on to you about your budget. I'll quote. When you have a moment, you will. Otherwise, we are going to stay with Chankwanzi all the way through. So, Honorable Namuga, here's a quote for you. The alternative budget priorities we present today are anchored on a theme that speaks directly to the most urgent concerns of our time: safeguarding lives, livelihoods, and institutions. You think that's, in NUP, the opposition, you think that's the most important thing?
Actually, I should say it's not about NUP as a party. It's about the opposition and it's about the country. The budget must speak to the concerns of the people. And as the alternative, we are only giving a wake-up call to government that every financial year, Ugandans expect something new about their livelihoods, about how the institutions can serve them better, but more so about the plans that we do give in the course of the 5 years. We are yet to have a new government for the next 5 years, 2026, 2031. Allow me appreciate the colleagues type of the Katuntu and the senior colleagues that we do found in Parliament. And I should say it is a very big disservice to our country on failing to nurture new leaders. When you look at what is in Chankwanza and the rate of failure or rate of fall of legislators, I should say it's eligrate.
70%.
In the Western,
50%.
90% of
Western
our
again?
colleagues, yes, 90% didn't turn up. 90% of colleagues in the Western didn't turn up. They didn't make it. 90%. So that attrition rate.
58%.
But come to think of it, Toro.
I mean,
It's actually 90%.
it is so alarming. And when you look at what we lose out, I normally tell people, someone coming new on board, then 5 years, that person is out, come learn. The moment you catch up, you're out. As a country, we are at loss. The Katuntus are out, the Mpugas are out, the Sedokos are out, the Semjus are out. Then what do we bring on board? So I believe it's good to have leaders, but also...
Honorable Namere.
Let me switch off your mic.
And I speak this with a lot of honesty, that much as we are operating under a multi-party dispensation, but we must know that parties are there to serve the people. The biggest interest is how do we serve our people better. And to the NRM government, you are a very big service to this country, Uganda.
So-
the NRM government, I
Yeah.
should say. The way things are being handled, I think we shall all live to regret, no matter the political party you subscribe to. We should look at a slightly bigger perspective than looking at, that wishful party.
So Goreth, we got back to the budget.
As we go to the budget, the reason as why I've taken that direction is, when we get to issues of the budgeting, we tend to be partisan, which is very wrong. The Honorable Katut knows that when we go to Parliament, we have a responsibility and a duty to serve the people. People are served through the national budget. The alternative budget that we are speaking to is a budget of the NRM government. For us, we are giving an alternative.
Goreth, we've understood that part. Let's investigate it. If a government is saying that the money, I don't want to call it expenditure estimate, is going to be 78.2 trillion. And then the opposition says, no, it's going to be around 71 trillion.
That doesn't begin from that. Where do you draw your budget? You have a national development plan. You have a plan that must give you an insight into how you should run the country. You have previous performance of this so many years. We are saying
it is going to be short by 7 trillion.
We are saying as a country, what makes you read a budget of 78 trillion? Now that is 84. The previous performance, half-year performance of the budget, so let me give you that of 24-25 as per the Auditor General's report. The current performance is 56 trillion. We should say the budget is very unrealistic. You have never achieved a budget of beyond 56 trillion. At the time of the budget framework paper, we started this financial year, we started with 68 trillion. From 68 to 78. From 78 now to 84. How realistic
is it? It's a little bit similar to last year, because last year it started with 51 trillion and then ended up with 72 trillion.
And now it's 84.
Not 82 trillion.
Well,
it is 84.
Edgar, we can take 82.
And believe me not,
close.
Believe me not, as we get close to passing of the budget, it might get even to 90.
So for you, the opposition, I don't want to move away from it. So for you said 71
We
trillion.
are saying, why can't we have a more realistic budget that can be achieved? Number one.
Don't leave this one yet. If you've said that we've never hit the 70 trillion,
yes,
and you now, the opposition, are saying 72 trillion, 71 point something trillion, so how do you come to that figure if we've never been there?
The budget framework paper for this financial year predicted a budget of 68 trillion, which we think was realistic. From 56 to 68 is kind of somehow fair. Now we are saying a projection of more 3 trillion on the side of the opposition. That is not too much. We doubt it's very, we believe it's very achievable. When you look at the revenue in terms of tax and non-tax revenue, the projection for government is 44. And the previous performance was close to 38, 39, around there.
And you
now,
put yours at 41.
For us, we are saying 41 is okay. Government is saying 44. And the moment you shoot your revenue beyond what you will achieve, automatically you will not achieve it at the end of the day. So we are saying, when you look at the resource envelope that is very unrealistic, we are saying 84 is too much. Come back to 71. As you get to 71, how do we intend to, for example, how do we intend to raise this money? 41 trillion, tax and non-tax revenue. Domestic borrowing. Every one of us was complaining. Why do we borrow domestically? Yet it has a very big impact. For example, to the interest rates as government competes with the general public on borrowing from within the banks. Government says the government budget is 13 trillion under domestic borrowing. We're saying that is too much. Domestically, let's not exceed 8 trillion. 13 trillion is too much. The other area is about domestic areas on commitment. That is in the line of expenditure. 13 trillion validated domestic areas. Government with a commitment of only paying 200 billion. This is too low. The last financial year, government made a commitment of payment of 1.4 under domestic areas. So you cannot frustrate the private sector because this is money Ugandans supplied. I mean, they worked on roads, they worked on, they supplied government, and these are so many areas, even in court awards. So with that huge burden on domestic areas, automatically you are frustrating the private sector. What are you trying to say? As you look into how much you intend to collect as government, equally look at how much you intend to invest in regard to the concerns of the people. Look at the line of health, for example. We have a budget recurrent of 442 trillion for the 18 regional referral hospitals, recurrent budget. But for State House alone, they have a budget of 444 trillion under recurrent budget alone. How can State House have a budget more than the regional referral hospitals? Where can you find that in a country? You have the Office of the President has a recurrent budget of 368 billion. Office of the President alone. What do we have under agriculture? You have a budget of 268 billion for agriculture. So how have you prioritized? If you say agriculture employs 70% of the population, have you invested much in agriculture? So we are saying, why do we look at livelihood, lives, and institutional capacity? The only way to serve our people is through these two other ways. When you look at the area of governance, how much are we investing in the area of security? Yes, the biggest component of your money, both recurrent and budget, goes to security. The biggest component. That's where we have the classified and these others. But how much, when you look at, for example, the area of health, the area of education. I want you to
go to debt as well.
The area of agriculture, how much have you invested in that? Looking at all the challenges that you do have, we have just looked at the Auditor General's report. I can give you an example. Mulago National Referral Hospital, when we are interacting with the director, we asked her, how much would you have, if one gave you an open check under supply of medicines and medical supplies, what would be the most appropriate budget for Mulago National Referral Hospital? She said, it's 103 billion for Mulago National Referral Hospital. But you know what they get? 24 billion under supply of medicines and medical supplies. We come to Cancer Institute under medicines and medical supplies. Cancer Institute had a requirement of 94 billion. They were given 13 billion. Look at that shortfall. Now here we are having a lot of money spent under, for example, if under capital development, in most of capital development projects across board, not referrals are on. There are so many projects that have been embarked on. For example, you had an example of Mbara where we started 150 unit staff houses of medical staff. That contract was awarded in the financial year 2019-2020. 5 years, even if this was before election, during close to COVID time. These are so many idle projects. It was a project of 32 billion. We had made a payment of 19 billion. This project has been idle for the last 5 years. Cancer Institute has the same 62 billion project. They have only paid around 21 billion idle for those so many years. You have a lot of capital, idle capital invested across board.
We are going to stop for a break.
We asked someone, if this was your money, borrowed money, say from the bank, how could you reach that level?
We're going
The
to
reason-
stop for a break. Hold on. Just
The
pause
reason-
for a second.
Yes.
We're going for a break. Then I'll give you another 2 minutes because I agree with you on the issue of debt, that all this debt payment denies us money, and how in your budget you think you will overcome that. And then we'll have discussion around the table. Let's talk for a break.
The Capital.
Welcome back from the Capital Gang, from the break. This is the Capital Gang. Honorable Gorethi is on Namuga is on the microphone. Just 2 minutes to finish off, and particularly talk about Uganda's debt. You've talked about idle money, unspent money as well, but then we are paying back.
30%.
The reason as to why I had taken direction of showing you all those idle projects is because much as we have borrowed too much of the money that has been borrowed is not utilized. Reason, lack of preparedness as we do borrow this money. One asks, do we still have the proper planning that a country would have had? We have all the structures in place. The institutions are in place. One wonders, how have we gotten to this level? When you look into, I can give you an example, an investment of 18 trillion from the budget of financial 24-25, a budget of 8 trillion under capital development. Only 6 trillion was under partial implementation. 6 trillion partial implementation of projects. Around 1.5 trillion fully implemented. Some close to less than 1 trillion non-implemented. So if you have most of your projects under partially implemented, one would ask why. Funds are released late. They gave us the money before preparation of these bills of quantities, before compensations to these other PAPs, the project affected persons. So this lack of unpreparedness at the time of acquisition of loans has highly affected this country. And much as we are increasing in the borrowing, now we have it's 110 debt, and we are also having a debate of should the domestic arrears be part of the public debt? Why do you say that because it should be, because this 13 trillion, why should you leave it out? Ugandans have, because literally you borrowed from us.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, so from the 110 trillion, also add the 13 trillion, so that you can have a clear picture into the debt that you do have. So the whole thing is, much as we have increased the borrowing, the discretion of fund that remains to deliver services to the people is very little. From your 100 shillings earned by the country, already for 45%, 45 shillings is committed. So one would ask,
51.
are we
Is it 51?
45? So you are
45,
remaining with close to 55 to serve the people, and this is inclusive of wages. Now the wage bill is close to 10.5 trillion, employing close to 0.9. Much as the cost of public administration is high, the staffing is at 52%. When it comes to health, you are 29%. When it comes to education, you are 35%.
Thank you, Honorable.
How are we going to
So
serve
first,
the country?
pause there for a second, and then we have discussion around the table. Let's start with you, Honorable Katuntu. So you've had the passion in Honorable Namuga's voice. Who is listening to her? Does the government take such a presentation seriously?
Very difficult question. Because you see, the Honorable Namuga is quite articulate, and she raises most of these issues in a better way. But they are the very issues that have been on the floor for the last 20 or so years have been in the House. All these issues. And now to answer your question, why is it that there has not been a change? Much as these issues have been on the floor. They have been on the committee. Various shadow ministers of finance have been raising these very issues. And unfortunately, very, very few of the other side listen to some of these issues. Ordinarily, in our politics, what the Constitution envisaged is that, yes, there would be a majority party and a minority party, but that is what represents Uganda. Let them come together and find a middle way, such that even government, much as it has the numbers and it has the constitutional mandate to lead this country, it should be able to listen to the opposition and pick out some aspects that can improve the governance of the country, that can improve the economy. And I think that is the point she's laboring to explain. Why can't you listen to me? There are issues which we can't understand why they have been every year in, year out, the same. no movement at all. But let me tell you why you are having this, what you would think are bloated expenditures, either with the State House or President's office. What the government has done is to run two governments. There is a government in the office of the President and State House, and there is an orthodox government. It has, for example, projects that should be ordinarily in ministries. Now they are under State House, they are under President's office.
There is a third
Yes.
ambit you've left out.
You get it?
There's a third ambit you've left out.
Which one? Yeah, I mean, okay, whatever it is.
You know the ambit I'm talking about. OWC.
So that's why you find, Oscar, that you have these big figures in the President's office. You say, we are going to fight, for example, governance, corruption. The Constitution has put in place institutions of government to do that. You have the Inspectorate of Government, you have the Criminal Investigations Department, then you have another structure within State House doing exactly the same, a little bit of duplication. You have investment. There's an investment authority, they have what? Then you have another structure within State House. There is skilling. There is Minister of Education with, they call it BTVET, you know this better, technical vacation institutions and so on. Then you establish another one, skilling. And all of these are budget consumers. So you have these parallel institutions and duplication. But I've been thinking about this. Why? For some years, and we've been discussing it, either on the floor or even in public institutions like the gang. You see, once you have a budget of, it's now
84.
The Public Finance Management Act allows government to spend up to a certain percentage.
I see where you're going. So they've already spent some of it.
And then they are going to. And then seek retrospective approval. So we already have money which is going to be spent on the 84 trillion, a percentage, and the law allows it
3%.
3%, and 3% of 84 trillion is not small money. You get it? So everybody knows that actually there is no budget of 84 trillion because it is unrealistic. And we have the history. Let us look at it.
Technically, we should trust them because that 3% we know they are our representatives and they are going to put it to good use.
No,
That was
the representative is not
behind it.
Parliament. Yeah, representative is Parliament. We are talking about the executive finance, Minister of Finance. So they are going to access the 3% on the 84 trillion and then eventually seek retrospective what? Approval. And that is an automatic approval. The most unfortunate thing about it, sometimes even project or budget lines that have been rejected by Parliament are accessed here. And Parliament said in their report, no, this we are not going to allow this expenditure. But I said, by the way, we've already spent or partly spent. And if they have already partly spent on that project, then you have to approve the entire project. So that is what we call financial engineering. Actually, it is engineering, it's not indiscipline. Financial engineering.
That term was first introduced in Ugandan politics by General Salim Saleh.
Okay.
In the 90s.
So that is what you call financial engineering about these figures and so on. And the so-called technocrats advise this. And you know, Oscar, this morning I'm not in a very good mood with some people. And I need to tell that some of the biggest problem you have are the technocrats because they are the ones who advise this. So today, whether you are the press, whether the technocrats, we will not be taking blunt hits as politicians when there are people who are in the kitchen doing it. They are done telling the politician, by the way, sir, we can access this. This is the law. And eventually say, oh, is that so? Say, yes. Parliament is having a problem to approve this project. How much is it? Say, no. Once we start spending on it, it is already approved. Because Parliament can't reject when you've already spent 30%. So they have to approve even the 70%.
Okay.
So we have that problem with a bloated budget because there is a benefit of that. Then look at the budget performance. Not many people have actually analyzed the budget performance. The Auditor General has done a very pretty good job. Most of these things are there in black and white. The majority of our people don't read. They don't.
Even there's
because
also midterm expenditure review.
Yes, all those papers are there.
there.
All those papers. And sometimes when we speak, people are like, what is this one talking about? Because they want a little bit of this thing which can make a news and blah, blah. And then Derek is jump on it and it's a debate for a whole month. I can tell you, the biggest we have ever spent is 56 trillion. What is this magic from 56 to 84? Especially an economy which is collecting annual oil usage to collect around 38 trillion. So we are talking about a difference of close to 50 trillion. You don't have to be a very good economist, because the top of it is about borrowing. So are we now going to borrow 50 trillion? And if you are doing it, and
in addition to
Honorable Namuga makes this point quite well. Borrowing domestically is a problem. It's a big problem. It is cause for high interest rates. Because of default. And because of default, I mean, all these banks would be comfortable borrowing from, lending to government other than to you business people. But how do you grow an economy without involving these other people? Then there is another explanation which has been given that, okay, let us borrow, then we give them. Meaning, you go to patronage. I don't know whether you understand me. Government borrows. Then, because once it borrows and it starts giving, no, that is budgeted for that to not be a problem. But this one, where do you borrow and you start, which group of these women? I'll give you this. It goes to patronage and so on, because the public does not have a well-defined access to those resources like those which would be in the budget. And then you go to pledges. Because what the president goes ahead, and I discussed this, my committee, with the president, and he had asked me and the then Attorney General Vyaruhanga to work it out about pledges. Because my view was the president should be given every year. Say this year we've given you 300 billion for discussion purposes for your pledges. Then the president works within the 300 billion. If it's over, his aide says, sir, your pledge basket is what? Finish this financial year. So you don't do further pledges. Because that will be discussed. So no, this is what we want. Now what happened is, Oscar, the president goes on pledging. Now the budget works backward to look for money and put in the budget. And you don't have a bloated budget.
I'm going to interrupt you here a little bit so we get more discussion. Thank you. More revelations. Philip Karugaba, what do you take from this?
Thank you very much. I looked at this alternative budget paper and I liked it. First, I would like to talk about the issue of borrowing. I have no issues with borrowing. My issue is what you do with the borrowed funds and the return that you get on it. That is what we need to focus on, monitoring the borrowed funds and how it is utilized. And I think in the alternative paper, they talk about contract management. Stalled projects, delayed projects, how long a contractor takes to finish a road. Let me mention Lubowa Hospital on Entebbe Road. This lady took our money a long time ago. I don't remember the date of the original contract. Okay, the hospital is not finished. And we paid in advance.
80% completed.
But
Yes.
after how
No,
many
no,
years?
no, 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 no. Oh, Edgar, no, no, no. 80% is about
The building.
mortar, the building.
Yes, brick
A
and mortar.
hospital.
Yes,
a
to that
hospital.
extent, I agree with you. I know where you're going.
course,
I know where you're
0%.
going.
It has nothing to do with just with the building.
To that, I concede on
Especially
on the equipment.
especially a specialized
That one I
hospital.
concede, yeah.
A specialized hospital.
yes,
It's not about brick and mortar.
Yeah, that I concede.
Good.
That I knew you were going there.
So this is a big
I led
point.
you there.
Yes, this is a big point that I liked in the paper, that we need to pay more attention to delays on projects like that. The other one is on domestic arrears. When I hear the numbers, the debt that the government owes to the public, and saying they are reducing expenditure on that by 85%, it is immoral. These are Ugandans who have supplied goods and services to their government, and their government says, now I'm going to pay only 200 billion a year. It's going to finish a lot of the private sector people. The reducing
And by the
government-
way, if it's budgeted, doesn't mean they'll pay all.
But at least the money is supposed to be in the budget.
Yes.
That's another issue. As
then-
we've budgeted and the money is there.
and then
But-
how you get access to it,
Yeah.
whether it is me or Derek who gets the money.
Yeah, go on.
Yes. Then reducing the cost of public administration, that's another big point that I've liked. The misplaced priorities, when you are told State House has a bigger budget than our national referral hospitals, that's really painful. That's really painful. I think Honorable Abdul Katuntu has explained this parallel government. It has to stop. The Kenyans went to court the other day and they nullified these presidential advisors. They said those positions are not in the constitution and therefore we can't spend money on them. The other thing, my own pet peeve with public expenditure is this CSR budgets of statutory bodies like Parliament. I think the last Parliament had 19 billion for CSR. This is outside their constitutional role, oversight and legislation and representation. CSR has no place in that. And it's not only Parliament, there is Bank of Uganda, even NSSF during the probe, I think it was your probe, we saw that the board members had budgets for CSR. Okay? No, this has to stop. This has to stop. Then you talked about us trusting the government, okay,
Over
on
the
use of our
3%.
public money. There's how do you say it? Sekawuka kali kakulumieko. Yes, we know. We've seen it. We've seen abuse of office, of public funds. So there's reason for us to be circumspect when we see these things happening. And the cynicism that we see in overstating the budget so that you can access the 3%, that's disheartening. Thank you.
Joseph?
I would almost certainly say I have not much to add, particularly after the fantastic submissions by
Honorable Gorith Namuga.
by Goretti. That said, just very briefly and very quickly, and I think considering what the issues are, we've talked about these things, and I think the painful thing in part is what the nuances are suggested by Abdu, that we talk about these things, what changes and why don't things change. For me, I think as a country, we basically just need to bang the table. And just like the trips around Chankwanzi, that Ugandans ought to know that they're being ripped off, and being ripped off very openly and very arrogantly and with excess and massive impunity. And that unless there is a fundamental change in terms of direction as a country, and unless the establishment gets to know that people have had enough, and unless they understand that the implications as far as every action they actually do take, particularly with the public resources, I don't think this is going to change. Public date, which was basically my number one on this, is how we've got here, Oscar. I don't know. But I think a trajectory can be presented. I happen to have been one of those people way back in the early 90s when Edgar was still abusing me as a refugee. I was one of the global campaigns around debt relief to developing nations. And we did demonstrations, presented papers, and we were saying that, look, particularly African countries, African ordinary citizens in developing nations, but particularly Africa, people are debt burdened, but usually by regimes who are terrible borrowers at the time externally, by irresponsible lenders, in this case the Bretton Woods institutions that wanted to choke us with the money in order basically to qualify dictatorial regimes that were serving their purposes. In part, this is how we've done this. From then on to today, I don't see anywhere where changes have taken place. 3 or 4 years ago, there's a young member of parliament, Goretti, whom we met in some of these spaces, and we had huge conversation about this question of supplementary budget. Like Abdu says, I don't actually think that people understand that 3% of a budget is a huge amount of money, and that 3% every year, and normally it goes beyond 3%. Year in and year out, it's not little money, and it's not money that's accounted for. And the 3% for an administration that, unless they're fiscally extremely irresponsible, which is almost treasonably criminal, or if in any case there is fiscal illiteracy in this regime, what is it that you have Minister of Finance, technocrats across the country and across the government, people who've been in power for a very long time, and every budget cycle, you deliver a budget, and within 2-3 months, there is a call for supplementary. We must all know that's commonsensically fraud. That young member of parliament told me in a huge conversation that they were committed to reviewing this, Goretti, that the 3% was going to be no more. I would actually suggest that actually a future parliament, and if some young guys from Chankwazi, even those who studied average economics, are hearing that this should really be reduced to 1%. Because as I said, supplementary...
Debate on that. The 3% is not the problem, Joseph.
Yeah.
It is how you use it. That's why the problem is. Otherwise, you need to run a government in the initial days, and the 3% is reasonable. We had a long discussion about it. We may not have the time.
If it is exceptional rather than a routine, and
you
don't have to use 3, but you use within 3%.
And you realize that it's a norm.
Joseph, even with routine, in a way, Philip has answered it.
Yes.
The trust you have with your people.
Indeed.
But final sentence on this, because I want 2 more people.
Yes, this presidential pledge thing, Abdu. For me, I am speaking from an experience of 2 governments here and 1 government abroad. Presidential pledge, I don't see an average British Prime Minister going around making pledges outside budgetary provisions. I don't see old Milton.
No, but these are 2 different economies and the political goals.
And that's why I said,
this one I disagree with you.
Thank you for disagreeing with me.
Yeah.
Let me just have my mind.
Yes.
Do you know what? I said 1, meaning a Labour government that I served, and 2 UPC administrations here. I don't see Milton Obote going every now and again, going somewhere into Chankwanzi and saying that, well, I promise you from my pocket. No, direct respective ministries and
hold on, Edgar, you're coming next on microphone.
No.
You remember the third world?
Edgar, your microphone is not on. Yeah. Joseph, finish that sentence.
Those are the only schools.
Okay.
Oscar,
I know the territory of this.
Derek Wandera.
But you see what? I need to complete this.
Yeah,
The so-called Tata lorries, were really directed by ministries to ministries from Ministry of Supply. So it was a government thing, not necessarily coming from the pocket of a president.
Derek.
Thank you, Oscar. I wanted to quickly respond to the issue that the Honorable Katuntu raised about media, and
if you
how
can fit it in a minute.
Yeah, and how we've covered the Chankwazi thing. You see, when Honorable speaks about the law, I don't speak anything. I don't say anything in retaliation or whatever. But when you speak about the media and you vehemently attack me, I certainly sometimes cringe, because I feel you are speaking something that you have either little or...
You don't have to give an apology, just dash into it very quickly.
It's not an apology. I feel the Honorable Katuntu is speaking out of context, completely out of context. Because when you see the word journalism and mass communication, we communicate to the masses, we represent what the masses look like. We do not pick these things from heaven. We speak what exactly it is. Now, for instance, your choice of topic here, it's not out of what you want, Oscar. It's about what you think the masses want and would like to take in. When Honorable Katuntu comes here and says that we are doing a very bad job, no. These things we are speaking and writing are the ones that you are presenting to us, are the ones that you want as the masses. And politicians have shaped the narrative like that. You know, it's not like this is what, you know, we want to give. This is what represents the masses. And if the masses are dilapidated, we're going to give them what they want. The dilapidated
what you're saying?
We have a role. But I'll give you numbers. I'll give you numbers. If I wrote a story, like for instance, what he is saying about like listening to the policies that are being read at Chankwanzi, which policies actually represent only NRM, probably not, they never get out to the country. After all, they end on paper. And then Mao and Honorable Anita and Mong are fighting in public, like washing their dirty linen in the. If we do not speak about what they are saying and just try to help people understand in the contextual way of we've gone for this retreat, but we all know what's going to happen there. It's going to be, now this one is going to be the speaker, this is not going to be the speaker. You are not going to take this position. So if we keep quiet about that, we're not representing the people. We're not speaking what exactly
I've understood you.
So,
Abdu wants us to talk about PhD things, yet we are not PhD material.
We are in a primary school kind of
Let's
setting
stop for a quick break and we move on.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back from the break. We were having a nice and easy show, and then you have Derek Wandera in a shout out. It did continue in the break, but we will not tell you how it was. Edgar Tabaro, your final comments on the budget, because I want us to talk about the sovereignty bill. I did ask Abdu yesterday, I called him up and said, this sovereignty thing, what is it?
And I thought you had given me the floor.
No, I'm asking you.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
And I can deny you this. I can deny it.
You're behaving like
I can deny you this.
You remember the South African speaker?
Edgar, listen to this. I talked to...
You remember the South African speaker? You must withdraw that.
No, don't withdraw. But I had a quick discussion with Abdu on this
on the sovereignty bill.
And also I noticed that Philip was speaking on it last night. But where is it from? Usually you know in the corridor. So I want to save that particular
before we get there, let me just conclude on the budget.
Yeah, go on a 2 minute. You have 2 minutes.
I think critically, we and Derek has been hitting on it, although he has not been as eloquent as he has in the past, because he was in the dock under attack, and you can see his body language was. If you compared her to the Sibirwa we had, very different people. One is from the executive boardroom, the other one is from the Chirasha.
From the trenches.
From the trenches. But critically, I think what we are trying to address here is a constrained budget and the disjuncture between it and what we think we should be doing to transform our society. And I'll be brutally blunt on this. Uganda, for all intents and purposes, is a primordial economy. We are pre-scientific. I'm sorry I sound very judgmental and maybe dismissive. We are pre-scientific. We are pre-industrial. We are.
Just a small reminder, I put you in an NRM chair.
Yeah, sure. And that's it. That's it. And these are words President Museveni uses. But he uses them in a different way. We are backward. When he talks of people going to the moon and we are here dancing pakachini and drinking mudarasini, he's actually making, the point he's making is that we are primordial. We are pre-scientific. We are pre-capitalist. We are pre-industrial or pre-capitalist. And because of that background that defines who we are, even the leaders that we are going to elect are going to reflect that. These people you're bashing are a reflection of ourselves. I don't. My teacher, Musomesa Philip Karugawa, his family, both maternal and paternal, big names, legendary people. Wankosia Karugawa, we used to call him Gas, Uncle Gas. Very, very legendary people. None of you has offered themselves for politics. You are comfortable in ENS, air-conditioned rooms. Mama is running the most exclusive and exquisite furniture house in Uganda. The others, I mean, his cousins are in Bank of Uganda, and where have you have gone for the soft options and left the real hard work to the Honorable Namugas of this world. My old friend Joe Ocheno, recently returned from exile.
Who is the most optimistic?
And the UPC, ex-UPC turned. So really, so this juncture between what we have as revenue and what we are actually collecting as revenue, and what we have to
You didn't do it for your house. You didn't
I'm bringing the point home. In 1989, I know you don't like me bringing history. When you look at the first budget that Dr. Chiong addressed as minister for finance, remember he wasn't a darling of the donors, and that's why he didn't last long at Minister of Finance. It was only 13 pages, succinct, and the intention was very clear where we wanted to know as a country. But it's as a result of that background to the budget that we created the Uganda National Council for Science and Technology. Now, this is very critical. I'm giving that background to show where we've lost the ball and where we need to regain our what. Remember, I'm talking about industrial. When you look at the funding that has been allocated for innovation, Uganda Industrial Research Institute, narrow, it is meager. And you want to transform the country into an industrial water. Now you look at
Edgar, we hear you. We've been, as Abdul said, these are things we say all the time. But I want us to
more importantly, you're talking of a bloated public expenditure. I'd like to arrest your fears. Only the structure of the public service that is filled is only 54%, leaving a gap of 46%. Let me give you an example.
And yet there's no money for it.
Exactly, I'm coming to that. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of Kabare Hospital. It has a structure of 22 specialists. I think there are only 4 specialists. It's staffed up to 19%. Fort Porto,
and this is not unique.
So we are now coming to the so-called pledges and what. I've told you this is a primordial society. So we have, if you understand subaltern studies, patron-client relations. Our politics is turned transactional, and therefore everybody is going to look at that father figure, the person who has access to the vault.
Edgar, I'd like to persuade you that we've discussed these things. And Abdul presented them. Edgar,
yes.
For you, who moves in the corridors. The other day you were mentioning who you met and whatever. So this sovereignty bill, who is the author? We are not going to say it aloud. We will not say it. We will not put the record.
I don't know whether that sovereignty bill will survive well, it will be enacted because the numbers are there. But
the question asked was different.
Yeah, it is different question.
That who's behind it?
Yeah, who's authoring? This is a corridor talk.
We
will not record you.
You know, when there's an ease in the power, the centers of power. I mean, we saw it in Kenya when Kenyatta was edging.
And Philip, you taught this man well. I'm still waiting for an answer.
I took him over from Philip.
So it's
he had already baked.
No, but you shall recall in the 70s when Kenyatta was edging, and there was elbowing, for who would replace him, and there was talk around what they called the Kiambu Gatundu. I don't want to use the exact words.
I hope you're answering the question.
Yes, so
I think the witness should answer the question.
As put to him.
So I think there is an ease. There is an ease in the corridors of power, especially from the kind of activism that is coming from the civil society, and you've seen the arrests recently of persons making false declarations.
Allegedly.
The false declarations, of course, on media, journalists, and what have you. And we very well know that much of civil society in Uganda is externally financed. And me, that has always been the critical question. We civil society has externalized It's funding. It has external. It has external. I'm still submitting. It has externalized.
You run out of time.
So it's not homegrown.
Yeah.
It's not homegrown, and there's increasing unease that civil society has turned and principled the agents of regime change.
Okay.
And I think it's
so.
It's
Derek,
geared towards
before I go to Philip on issues of sovereignty, since he's presented on this before, same question as I asked, because now for you are the reporter. Katonto told you should be penetrating places,
Investigating.
Not
places.
regurgitating stories
Not
on social media.
So, Dr. Kasaija tells Abdu it's risky for Abdu to encourage Chris, your person.
Okay. My person, okay.
Yes, it's risky for Abdu to encourage the media to forcefully penetrate into, and yet Ugandans have seen how the media has severally been tortured by the military personnel. So now, the one question to you, from the corridors of power and everything, can you hint on who is authoring this bill?
So, mentioning names?
I don't know how you at least you will not go to 1970.
No, I can't.
But we take lessons from our history.
So
It's not isolated.
this, I have a story that I cannot independently verify, but I've heard from my sources that the Dansibambi meeting with President Museveni has something to do with how this bill came about, because Sibambi goes to President Museveni and he's saying he wants to rescue or remove or help the political prisoners of the Honorable Namugas to be released from prisons. And then I understand that allegedly they understand that there is a lot of money that's being made off these prisoners, and it's coming from the Western world, the West and wherever, Europe and whatever. So then it becomes a very difficult place to just remove these people from prison, especially if some people are making a buck off them. And I understand it's allegedly 1,000.
Allegedly.
Yes, allegedly $1,000 per prison. That
Honorable Katonda, if you told him, like I sometimes call them the rumor mongers, they fit into that bracket.
You see.
But
Abdu Katuntu says we don't go into those gutters. We go there and we get this information.
Thank you.
But sometimes you have to weigh.
I think it's good you put a disclaimer on it. That
Before you came on board, before you came in, I thought over 70% of the information that comes.
You had offered 50%, and
he actually
put it up to
70%.
70%.
So you have to weigh on what to report and what not to report. For instance, that story, if you reported it, but now you put me under the dock to
but
say.
Don't worry,
but you are now reporting it.
You can stop.
Just saying
Philip
allegedly,
Karugawa,
just here.
take the microphone now. The way I framed this topic was anxiety. What is it in the bill that's causing anxiety?
Thank you very much.
I didn't want to say controversy.
Yes. Can I just
chose
add
the words carefully.
one plug on the budget issue?
Okay.
And talk about Namamve Industrial Park, 400 factories with a horrible road network.
No, just motorable paths.
Motorable paths. Okay, thank you
Not
very
roads.
much. Yes. So, Oscar, this protection.
You,
of-
Edgar, you're seated in the NRM seat.
Yeah, but we consume the same service.
Yes, you're going to be fired from there.
Yes.
Go on.
The Protection of National Sovereignty Bill 2026, okay, as sold to the NRM caucus, and unfortunately we can't find by whom, okay, but what was told to the NRM caucus in March 2026 was that the objectives of this bill would be, and I'm reading from the paper, to foster mutual respect and reciprocity in international relations, ensure digital sovereignty and cybersecurity, sovereign management of foreign aid and external development finance, strengthen regulation of NGOs and foreign funding in civil society, protect cultural and social sovereignty. You can't quarrel with that, okay? And then ensure transparency and accountability in external engagements. Now, other countries have these laws, okay, to safeguard our sovereignty by regulating and criminalizing foreign influence over domestic policy and governance and public affairs. That's laudable. That's laudable, okay? but it is what the bill actually says in content. It treats all foreign engagement, whether it's commercial, developmental, academic, or civic, as a security threat. All of it is treated as a security threat until proved. That's why he's saying prima facie, until you prove otherwise. Okay?
So the burden shifts.
The burden shifts, yes. The bill, it takes the broadest possible definitions with the harshest penalties, the most sweeping executive discretion, and the fewest safeguards as compared to any other law. Let me give you an example of KFC is a chicken place. I think there's one across the road. Okay? By the definitions in the bill, KFC, okay, is an agent of a foreigner because it takes direction and control from a foreigner. KFC serves chicken in a particular way, fries in a particular way. You can't put malakwang, okay? You can't put kalo
or OD
in a KFC budget. That means it's directly controlled, okay, by a foreign agent. So KFC needs now permission. It must register as a foreign agent. And should it require capital? Should they need to send more than 400 million shillings per year? Then it needs to go to the Ministry of Finance and explain why it's getting that money. So the law may have some legitimate content, but it, the way it's someone has gone about it is just too broad. And coming after we had the Constitutional Court judgment in alternative digital and Attorney General, which nullified criminal defamation and made very good law on free speech. It's unbelievable, but that this law is coming up now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Joseph, the Greens Councilman on X, formerly Twitter, says, hi, Gangsa has been overdue, that this sovereignty law is overdue. Charitable organizations and political parties have been soliciting a lot of funds under disguise for charities, but ended up in advancing their personal gains.
Who was
That's
that?
another object. Someone on Twitter. Someone on X.
That person, I don't know which planet they live on. And
Planet Earth.
I must say that that observation is as precisely a Chankwazi-led UPE trained governance illiteracy.
Before you rubbish
as it should be. No, and I'm just deliberately putting it together. Really, it's not to refer to that person, but really the people who founded this process. Do you know, Oscar, the sovereignty bill as it is as shocking to me as it would if formally legislated, make Uganda move from a mini police state to some kind of dark state that you would compare with North Korea is a fantastic nation state. People talk China, rather Russia. I don't know which other nation state would you compare with a Uganda under such a process. To the extent that some of what Philip says, a proposal to seemingly target merely civil society organizations, and this to a regime led by people who've been thrice refugees, people who, in this case, Mr. Museveni himself, who was a resident of Sweden, and people with networks that we really want to be respectful not to mention here because we know, simply to target civil society organization for a nation state that depends on up to 45% or thereabout on monies from foreigners, from a regime whose number one net supporter in Luweero was Libya. I can go on and on and on. I genuinely don't know how an average Ugandan, who's going to work.
Those are the plugs they want to close.
Yes, an average Ugandan who's going to work in the Middle East is going to conduct business. An average Ugandan who's going to do cheyo is going to conduct business. Maybe they're jealous about average Ugandans who possibly found themselves as refugees and good enough they've become mini experts like some of ourselves. But in 1992, in Museveni's first attempt to lure refugees then in London, he was very boastful that at the time 30 he was getting $30 million US per month from Ugandans then in the diaspora. To all of a sudden, simply because you want to confine this to you want to confine civil society organizations, you then decide to penalize not only all Ugandan citizens, but including Ugandan citizens. An average grandmother from Paya who has to depend on a grandchild with monies from a particular corner of either South Africa or Canada is extraordinary. Going to the legalities, we really don't have the time, but it is an outrageous bill. And I really genuinely hope, I hope it is withdrawn. Or rather
on the sovereignty bill.
The beauty with this is we are still dealing with a rumor. It is within the NRM. This has never come to Parliament. Actually, it is within the space. So it's not anywhere in that house called Parliament. And I believe it will not get there. The reason as to why our colleagues feel so insecure is because they have failed to serve the people. So whoever gets money is a threat to government. Otherwise, I doubt whether we are short of regulating how finances come into the country. You know, when you look at the NGOs, the civic space has been frustrated 99%. So I doubt whether this regime should still even feel insecure about the NGOs. NGOs are no more. Those a few that are existing, I'm telling you, it is so tight on them. So I think it's better we concentrate on how best can we serve the people. Because the reason as to why our colleagues are very insecure is because they have failed totally on their core mandate. This colleague has been telling you that, the prisoners, NUP gets money. Whoever is in prison, NUP gets money. Release them. Release the prisoners. Say that NUP doesn't get the money. So, because the deal is very simple. Instead of you struggling with these so many laws, release them. Say that we fall short of funding. Otherwise, it's an embarrassment to a struggling country to start. Yes, we believe foreigners can economically, it is an insecurity to us. But this is becoming too much. When you look at what we are having on table and the number of laws that we have passed as Parliament, and they are very redundant. Honorable Katuntu, those so many laws that are out, they are very redundant, and the country can be served better if that post legislation is handled very well. Yes, and sectarian laws. So I believe that will end in the NRM house. The way they say we should not come to their bedroom. I doubt whether anyone will go to the bedroom and pick the law. Let it stop there, and we'll look at very, very tangible gains that we can get in this short period where the country is struggling economically.
Are we struggling economically?
Definitely. No, you will come to believe it.
You compare with the region. Compare our debt.
Edgar, we recorded your comments on the budget, which showed you even said we are
I said it was a constant.
ancient. Yes. Abdul, on sovereignty.
How nobody is considering the economic implications of this bill, if presented, legal implications. I just have no clue. And as I said, I really hope that it does not see the end of
Abdul. If Honorable Namuga says it is still in rumor form, so why is it a concern? And between your argument and Drake, this is how we've ended up talking about it, because it is topical.
Yeah, no, it's different. If we are talking about serious things like this one, whether the idea is just coming out for purposes of it being turned into a legislation, it's a good topic to talk about, because I think the area is covering and not very, very...
I'm going to have a debate with you later, but it is equally serious to talk about who's going to be the next Speaker of Parliament.
Well, I don't think...
And how colorful their language may be.
No, actually, to me, if the issue is who and how and what you expect, that's another matter. But these other things which you get, I don't have time for them anyway. You do. One, you see, the country, first of all, there is no published bill which has been read for the first time on the floor of the House and therefore coming for debate. However, there is an idea being born about a legal regime to cover the areas they have talked about, and I think it is in their draft forms. However, sometimes when you have a debate like this, the people who are originating that idea, either they get encouraged or discouraged. So maybe to talk about it now is very, very critical. That's number one. Number two, it would be what we call, expectations which are not anticipated. And I can tell you, the people don't know where they are going to. One time, the banks in Nigeria closed. They foreclosed on a bank. The president then, one of the players, actually is the former player, J.J. Okocha, held an account within that bank. And I think it had over $7 to $8 million. The president had to breach all the laws to make sure that this man is paid that money, much as actually they paid all the money against the legal regime of that time to make sure that they don't discourage the Nigerians who are in the diaspora remitting the money. This sort of law, I am telling you, you don't know what. And you know, when you have corporate lawyers like Philip here, they will tell you what they are smelling. Yeah. If an investor is coming to put money here, and somebody must register him as a foreign what? Agent, and on prima facie is a security state threat. I don't know how many people will be willing to bring in investments here. So these are unintended consequences which this law might lead us into. Why? Because in law there is what we call the mischief rule. Yeah. If you are to legislate, to put in layman's language, what is the purpose of this law? What was the problem which necessitated this law? Is what this law covering the problem? No. The problem are these Namogas people here. They are the mischief. So, now, but because going for them directly would look very ridiculous. So you say you cover it up, and then you bring in all sorts of things.
If you don't mind, I really... hold on, Joseph. I'm going to give you 2 minutes because we're at the very end of the show. No. Hold on. Just finish off.
So to me, one, in this country today, we have enough legislation, and we can also improve on the legislation we have. For example, we have anti-money laundering laws. They're clear. And this is international legislation. The standards are the same. We even had to really do amendments to satisfy the international standards because we had been blacklisted and so on.
Nearly.
Yes. So we had been nearly blacklisted. So we can improve on those laws to cover, but legitimate concern.
Good one.
These other issues and so on, please let them handle it politically. It has nothing to do with putting up a law, then dragging our judicial system into making very ridiculous decisions, them looking bad, because eventually what happens, Oscar, people start looking at the judiciary. That's correct. And now the judiciary has to get involved in the dirty things.
We are looking at you regarding bail. So this is another topic we'll discuss at some point.
Yeah, that one we need to. And the difference between me, Philip, and then Derek is for us, we are ready to discuss even our own weaknesses. Them will the press. No. Don't talk about us. We are doing. For us, whether it's a judicial law, we are ready to discuss and even concede that on this one.
I didn't see that coming. So I've been allowed another few minutes. So let's start conclusions. Everyone has 2 minutes, and we'll finish with Philip.
Wait, another 2 minutes.
I've been allowed some extra
because of Philip. Okay. I understand.
So Joseph, you kick us off on 2 minutes in conclusion.
Yeah, my conclusion, part of what I was about to say is Abdul really said it. That really...
so you go to conclusion.
There's a craziness here. The anti-homosexuality legislation, as it were. Whoever started on these things.
I didn't talk about that.
No, the existing provisions in the statute to have dealt with all this. So it was completely unnecessary. Somebody was actually getting excited, and then they put a country in a very crude and awkward situation.
No,
the language was unnecessarily inapplicable. The sovereignty thing. Really, sovereignty is really about we the people, we the citizens. But this legislation as presented or as proposed, is like anti-people, anti-sovereignty legislation, as it were. But finally, the point is there are existing provisions within the law to be able to deal with this, if anything. And if there are people who are dubiously bringing crooked money, like the way money was thrown to funny people in Luwero, I will support it. The people of Uganda will support it.
Edgar Tabaro, your 2 minutes.
Well, I'm learning that.
In fact, with your introductions, it's about Tabaro, not Tabaro.
Well, in Uganda, you also have Tabaros in Uganda with double T. They are from the Mutuma,
But also
from
have
the
a
Mutuma
Tabaro.
clan, but ending with LO.
Okay.
It's
So go on, your 2 minutes.
we are everywhere, like you know.
Like
I'm just learning that this bill was actually drafted in 2014, but I think 2014. So those who are thinking that it's particularly targeted to the Nambugas of this world may be a little bit apprehensive over that.
No, you appreciate the gravity of a seat you're in.
Yeah, but
So-
I mean, this some of the things are best handled by the likes of Ofono Pondo. But
I am here to defend Ofono Pondo, please. Leave my blaz out of this.
Ofono Pondo has a way of getting around this, but because I happen to be a lawyer, and as a lawyer, I have a duty to the public. I have a duty to defend the Constitution. At least that's what we're taught in law school, and that's what also my dad told me over the years. And
Okay.
I think he was a defender of the Constitution.
Conclusion,
while he
Derek-
was still a sitting
Derek
judge.
Wandera,
And
conclusion?
I wouldn't like to depart from my grounding.
Conclusion, Derek?
Uganda has had, especially the leadership of Uganda, has had the problem with coming up with impulsive laws. And many of those laws, especially enactments or even like whatever they do, some of them have come back to bite. Many of them have come back to bite, and we retrospectively look at certain provisions within the laws that we bring up impulsively, and we end up backstabbing ourselves. You can look at the POMA. You can look at the recent quashed law, the
Computer misuse.
And then so many others, because you make laws selectively because you want to target a certain group of people. You make so many mistakes in coming up with in how you draft them, without looking at the other extra provisions elsewhere, or even the Constitution. Some of these laws actually come up, and they are hitting or even contravening the Constitution, the ground law. So when we move as a country in that kind of direction, which I actually don't believe that this law was drafted in 2014, like Edgar is saying, but I'm thinking this is a law that is being selective, and the lawyers in the room know that if you make laws selectively to certain individuals or communities, it's very, 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 very wrong, and
Thank you. Honorable Namuga.
dangerous to the country. So we have that problem of impulsively making laws, and it comes to bite us.
Honorable Namuga.
I
2
still
minutes
believe as a
conclusion.
country we are not so short of human resource, but we are battling with selfishness in all the spaces that we do occupy. So for me, I think we need to look at a broader picture of this country and know that there is a generation ahead of us. Let's have deliberate discussions about these legislations that we do bring on board. It's about the people, shape society. It's not about NRM as a party. It's not about NOP. NOP will come and go the way NRM is soon exiting, I believe. So when it comes to the issues of the budget, we need to have a deliberate and genuine conversation about our priorities and the way, because you will never get taxes from people that you don't give services. At the end of the day, government will be so scared about its own people. Actually, we are becoming a threat to our own government. You are very unsafe as government because you have failed to execute your core mandate of basic service delivery to the people of the Republic of Uganda.
Philip Karugaba, and last one to speak on gang.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. There is a legitimate aim to this bill. There is sovereignty to protect, but this is not how to do it. The constitutional flaws, the infringement on the human rights that this bill does will impact all of us at a rights level and also the private sector as business. And unfortunately, the Constitutional Court takes too long to consider these laws to nullify them. I think on average 2 to 3 years.
We're expanding the Constitutional Court in the next budget.
In the next budget.
Gulu and Mbarara circuits are being opened, and new judges are being appointed.
That's a good
to
thing.
handle your constitutional matters.
But yes, So one other element is that the Constitutional Court refuses to act to give retrospective effect to its decisions. Okay, it says this is nullified going forward. People are languishing in prison under the Computer Misuse Act, under
Court martial.
Kabaziguruka, the court martial. It just says no, our effect goes forward, not backward. So there's a lot of worry. The best thing is to take this bill as a draft. Yes, as a draft. Back, reconsider it, consider all these elements, human rights, the constitutionalism, our civic rights as Ugandans to participate in our governance. That cannot be taken away from us.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I did say you're speaking last, but I'll allow Abdul to talk about the Artemis 2. Many times he likes things American, but this is global.
Actually, yeah, it's I've liked that country for a long time, but
You were supposed to go there for fellowship. What
under sovereignty, he may not be able to go. Even saying he likes that country, it could be illegal. But quickly, Artemis 2 landed.
Yeah, you see, it is really one of those that, the world Edgar is talking about should be proud of. When, brilliant people are doing great things and
yes.
so on.
Yeah.
And to me, there's nothing which I grapple with in my mind that even at NASA, you have some black people there.
Yeah.
And they're doing great job. So it has nothing to do with racism, meaning actually even Africa. We can afford
his
to
unprepared talk was brilliant.
Yeah,
the astronaut.
Exactly.
But okay, quickly again, this one I can't ask Joseph because we'd need another 15 minutes. The ceasefire will hold. Iran, Israel, the US.
I think nobody wants that war to go on even for an extra second.
Okay.
It will hold, that's what I think. Even though both sides are claiming victory, but both sides are bleeding. Let alone the allies all over within the Middle East who have been also suffering the brunt of this war. They're telling their big
Joseph
patron,
is
please
putting
stop.
his finger on his lips as he puts up his hand. But no, the show has ended. Thank you.
I am traumatized, but thanks for having me.
Back to Miracle.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening to the Crypto Gang. Thank you, Star Cafe, for powering the gang. Thank you, all the gangsters on the show. We've been missing you, Honorable Goreth Namuga. Thank you, Star Cafe. I am Oscar Semoyamsoke, and I shall see you next week.